Imagine all your audio entertainment available in just one place. That's what the Audible app is all about. With Audible, you can always find the best of what you love or discover something new. Audible has an incredible selection of wellness titles and originals, like The Light Podcast by Michelle Obama, Work It Out by Mel Robbins, and Confidence Gap by Russ Harris. Membership includes access to Audible originals, podcasts, and tons of audiobooks that you can download or stream as much as you want. And as an Audible member, you can choose one title per month from an ever-growing catalog of titles to keep. The Audible app makes it easy to listen anytime, anywhere, whether you're traveling, working out, doing chores, wherever your day takes you. New members can try Audible now free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/motivation or text motivation to 500-500. That's audible.com/motivation or text motivation to 500-500 to try Audible free for 30 days.
The weather is cooling down a bit. The leaves are starting to fall. Yes, it's that time of year again. Football season. And we all know the best part of any game day traditions are the ones that involve food. There's nothing like having everyone in your game day crew coming together to bring their best bites and argue over whose family makes the best chili. And while there's no need to mess with the perfection of game day classics, like a freshly grilled Oscar Mayer hot dog topped with Heinz ketchup and mustard, it's always fun to step out of your comfort zone and get creative with your recipes. Because there's nothing more fun than adding to your list of game day traditions, like making a creamy and delectable queso dip with Velveeta cheese that can be eaten with so much more than just chips. Now is the chance for people across the nation to find out whose game day eats reign supreme. It's your turn to show off your tasty game day food traditions. Go to www.gamedayfoodtraditions.com to share a photo of your game day food tradition to enter to win $10,000. Once again, that's www.gamedayfoodtraditions.com to enter to win $10,000.
This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
Tom, we got an awesome show today. Where do you see this guest? He's Boston through and through, but he's a legend in Canada, in Montreal. He's got one of the greatest nicknames in hockey history, and a former Ranger as well. We got Chris Knuckles Nilan.
As soon as you were describing, I knew it was him. Max, what's happening, brother? How are you?
Yeah, Tom, how are you? Good to see you again, pal.
Yes. It's funny, Chris and I played against each other, but didn't know each other. And then we did a panel discussion from Zoom from up in Toronto. That was interesting. That's the first time I really heard all your story. And the Toronto lawyers were very interesting too. They were talking about their lifestyle and everything. So it was pretty cool.
You guys didn't fight, did you?
No, we never fought. I didn't want to stay away from him. I'm not fighting him.
Listen, Tom was an honest player, hardworking player, good defenseman. Always had respect for him. You look at guys on other teams, and you wonder what he'd be like as a teammate,
Totally.
and you're one of those guys I found to probably, and hearing, obviously, when I got to the Rangers from Gresh, that you were a good teammate and a good guy. It just solidified what I was thinking when I played against you.
Yeah, very good. Very good. You're a battler too, I'll tell you. Okay, so starting off then, where did you grow up? Where's home for you?
I grew up in Boston, neighborhood there, West Roxbury, predominantly Irish neighborhood. And I'm a product of the Bobby Orr, Big Bad Bruins era, growing up watching them as a kid, got me interested in hockey.
Good. Now, were you a tough kid growing up?
I wasn't a real big kid, but I was the type of kid that, listen, my father was a Green Beret, and discipline was at a premium in my household. And, I was a little crazy, did some stuff, but my father disciplined me, and he disciplined me with his hands.
Oh, he did.
And I was the type of guy that, listen, if I wanted to live in that house, I kind of had to take it from him.
Right.
But I was scared shit of him.
Right.
But when I went out the front door, I wasn't taking fucking shit from anybody. It was just like, I had this attitude that no one's going to lay a hand on me, touch me, or fucking put me down, or there's going to be a problem. And I think that certainly, that attitude developed because of my upbringing.
Right. So were you a pretty good player when you started?
Not really. I started public skating. That's how I started skating. First time I ever skated was on a puddle in a parking lot up the street from my house. Froze. My father took me up there, threw a pair of big old skates on me, and I was flopping around.
Yeah.
Then they built a hockey rink at the end of my street, and they had public skating. They hadn't started the hockey yet. So I went up there every day and public skated. Even when they started hockey, I was about 7 the first time I played in a league, a house league. And then even when I started hockey, I used to go up and skate all the time because I loved skating. I just loved it. And then the hockey started, and I was an okay player. Believe me, I didn't rip it up. I was an okay player, and I loved it. I loved playing hockey. I practiced a lot down the schoolyard next to my house. The school near my house called Catholic Memorial, where I went to high school. There's basketball nets down there, and there was an awesome brick wall. And part of the wall was, have window here, and they had cages on the windows.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a section between 2 of the windows that was all brick, and it was kind of like a net. We used it as a net.
Right.
And I used to shoot pucks off that wall all the time, play street hockey down there. So, yeah, I was hockey all the time once I got going, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. So it seems like you're talking about your father. He's pretty disciplinarian, but he seems like he's a good man too, like getting you to the rink and getting.
Oh man, yeah. My father certainly a man of morals and his values. He's the type of guy who worked his ass off his whole life. He had, he's 18 years old. My mother was 17 when I had my oldest sister. He had to get to work right away, and he did. He joined the Army, and then he was in the reserves, I think, till like he was 55 or something. So they finally kicked him out. He used to jump out of planes, all that. Crazy.
Right? Oh, wow.
Yeah. But he, he's a jungle expert. He's scuba diver, everything, and he taught me a lot of stuff, my dad. But yeah, he supported me, dragged us around the rinks, rode my friends. If he wasn't driving, one of my friends' fathers wasn't driving, he was. He was certainly a big part of who Chris Nilan is today in a big way.
That's cool. So growing up then playing hockey, did you start fighting at a young age or?
Not in hockey because you couldn't, right? I fought a lot in the street, hanging around my friends, going in the bars and shit in Boston, getting in stupid fights over stupid shit, looking at someone the wrong way, craziness. Always a kid who stuck up for my friends, family. I got that from certainly my dad. My dad was big on, not really. I've seen my father do some shit a couple times. People come by the house one night, a bunch of kids, about 6 of them, and they knocked all the barrels over. Had them out the night before because they pick up the trash on Friday. Say, "Oh, come by, kick the barrels over." He went out the house. I remember as a kid, grabbed the kid, told him to pick him. The kid said, "Fuck you." He smacked him. He dragged him up the fucking street. So I saw that as a kid, and I liked that, And then, my sister, when she was born, my youngest sister, he was at Brigham's by my mother a Sunday to go up to the hospital, and a couple guys come out of the bar on the corner and had words with my father. One of them was calling, "Hey, fucking Four Eyes." My father fucking cracked him, put him through the window of Brigham's, and he showed up at the hospital the Sunday, fucking all cut up. And,
wow.
But that's the way it was. I remember one night, my sister Susan, it was a Friday night around 10 o'clock, and kids were coming from the rink, public skating. Girls yelling, "Susan, you suck, blah, blah, you fucking whore, this, that," right? So my father says, "Susan, who's that?" "I don't know, some kid. They're a bunch of assholes, always give me a hard time." So my father says, get your jeans on, get dressed, let's go. Put her in the car, went up the street. He caught up with the kids. My father got out of the car. He said, "Who got something to say now?" And the girl said, "Me, fuck you, blah, blah." And my sister kicked the living shit out of the girl, ripped her hair out of her head, had her fucking clothes half off. She went fucking bananas on this chick. And that was the last time, it never happened again. No one come by. So, that's how my dad was. It's right or it's wrong. Stand up for yourself. If you don't, you're gonna get fucking run over in life.
Right, it stops. And you were the same way as a player too. That's the way you played. Like you didn't fight just to fight. You fought for a purpose, right?
Yeah, did you like it? I loved my job. Listen, was it hard? Of course it was. It's tough to fight National Hockey League, fighting guys bigger than you, guys who grew up fighting on the ice. I never did. Was always on the street. And, I love my job. I love sticking up for my teammates. I love being there for my teammates. There were times, certainly, I fought for myself because there were times I had to fight for myself, but majority of the time it was for my teammates.
Yeah. So you finished high school. Where'd you go to college?
I went to Northeastern. I went to Catholic Memorial for 4 years. I was 17 years old most of my senior year. So my guidance counselor, who was also my hockey coach, Bill Hansen, recommended that because senior year, I was like, "What? Fuck, everybody's going off to college." I couldn't afford. My parents couldn't afford that. So, I'm like, "What the hell am I going to do?" And I went to see Coach Hansen. He said, "Listen, you ever think of going to prep school? You're a young senior. So take a year of prep." So I went up to Northwood School up in Lake Placid, New York, and interviewed with them. I got recommendation by Judge King, who was a hockey coach of mine, a judge in one of the toughest courts in Boston, awesome guy. And the judge wrote me a recommendation. I got in, I got scholarship money. It was still expensive at the time. I think at the time it was like $5,000 tuition there, and my dad had to pay $1,500 for that 1 year for me. So we got a lot of money off the tuition, but it's still at that time $1,500.
So this time, then you're the wild kid.
For my dad.
Sure. So this time you're the wild kid on the street. You're fighting all the time, but it seems like you're keeping your education up. Your hockey's going well, right?
Yeah, hockey's going good. I had a great year when I went to prep school, and I got most improved student and most improved athlete that year. I went up and I made a promise to the judge, who certainly was a big backer of mine. I could tell you more about him in a minute, but the judge absolutely loved me. He saw something in me that I guess I didn't see in myself, and he really was he went to bat for Chris Nilan in a big way. And, he coached me, bantam, midgets, and a team called Hub City. It was an all-star team of city kids. And the judge used to always talk to me about the Montreal Canadiens. He was friends with Doug Harvey and Dickie Moore.
Oh.
And the judge and I, he helped me get into prep school. The judge was good friends with Fernie Flamin. So after that year of prep school, Fernie was coaching Northeastern. I got a scholarship to Northeastern, full ride, because of the judge.
Wow.
I'm here at Northeastern. I'm there after my second year. I get drafted by the Montreal Canadiens in the 17th round, 231 out of 235. Now, I say that because it was the judge who was responsible for that, and I didn't know till the end of my career.
Oh.
He was good friends with Dickie and Doug. Doug was scouting at the time. Dickie was in business. Dickie went to see, along with Doug, a general manager at the time, Sam Pollock, and said, "Listen, can you do me a favor? Very good friend of mine down in Boston. As a kid, he really likes. He plays at North. Can we just draft him? Just take him with your last pick or whatever, and so he can come to training camp." And anyway, that's how I got drafted. And I found out at the judge's funeral, Dickie Moore was there, and we went out afterwards and we talked. And he said, I said, I always suspected something was up there but he said the judge never wanted you to know, but he was responsible for getting you drafted. He came to me, and I mean, it's a hell of a story. And just the judge was so awesome. Arthritis, he was all hunched over. He would sit in that bench all day in Dorchester District Court, and deal with the crazy shit that he had to every day. He had 6 kids of his own, 1 boy Down syndrome, and he would on that bench all day, come down, get on the ice at night, after being there a couple times a week. And he just loved hockey, and he loved coaching kids, and he's just such, not for him. I'd have never been near the National Hockey League. No one would have saw me at Northeastern and said, "Oh, let's draft that kid." It was never happening. So the judge certainly responsible for a lot of that.
At that point, did you think you had a chance of playing in the National Hockey League?
Realistically, no. But in my head, I'm saying I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna find a way to get this done. And all I needed was that chance, and that's what the judge told Dickie Moore. He said, "Listen, just draft Chris." And the judge said this. He'll do the rest. And Dickie was like, "Oh, that's pretty." Anyway, I did do the rest. I got to camp. I ended up getting sent to Halifax. And, I had a 5-game tryout down there. I remember almost got in a fight in an exhibition game. And I don't know, you remember Dave Allison?
Yeah, sure. Big guy.
Well, Redzy was on the bench, and I got in a little shoving match with Bam Bam Belanger. And Bam Bam was one of the toughest guys in Quebec League, came up, was tough in the A. Anyway, we pushed and shoved. We come back to the bench, and Dave Allison looks on the bench. He goes, "Hey, fucking college kid. Fuck, what are you trying to start a brawl? You ever been in a fucking brawl before?" I'm there, "Hey, fuck you. You don't know what a brawl is. What is a fucking brawl?" And, we have words. And the coach at the time was Bert Templeton.
Oh, wow.
And Bert, he was
he loved fighting.
French up in Destiny and all that. Bert was like, he always had a tough team.
Yeah. So,
and he didn't like college kids. Anyway, I go out the next shift and I fucking drop him. I give it to Belanger. Now Redzy's like, he's like, how the fuck did this kid know how to fight college kid, right? And no, I didn't talk to him the rest of training camp and right into the beginning of the season. And my first game in Maine, I didn't have a contract. 5-game tryout, $200 a game I was getting paid.
Wow.
First 3 games were in Nova Scotia, didn't play. The 4th game of the season, in Maine, I dress. I run Glenn Cochran behind the net. He fucking chops me, drop our gloves, boom. I cut him really good under the eye.
He's tough, dude. He's tough boy.
Real tough kid.
Yeah.
Listen, he goes nuts. I go nuts. We get kicked out of the game. The next morning, Bert Templeton calls me. He says, "Hey, Chris, you got a few minutes? Come down the room." And yeah, I come down the room. He goes, "Hey, great job last night." He said, "Do you have an agent?" I'm there. "No, I don't have an agent." "No, fuck, I was a 17-round pick. Like, someone's going to fucking represent me." He said, "Well, you better find one because Montreal wants to sign your contract." I'm there. "No way." I signed a contract a week later. If I had an agent, I would have signed it that day. Sure. I mean, it's crazy. So I scrambled, called Bobby Orr. He put me in touch with someone in Boston. Oh. And, the rest is history.
So you had fought a lot off the ice, but those were your first fights on the ice that you had, correct? Mom?
Yeah. Those are my first on the ice, and I did good in both of them. Funny, I had to learn, and I'll never forget playing the Bruins at the Forum my first year. I fought Jonathan, did good, and then O'Reilly later. And after the O'Reilly fight, what happened? O'Reilly challenged me, dropped my gloves. I knew he was a lefty, and I threw one punch and hit him, and he come back and hit me with 2 lefts. And the second one, fucking just like the blood was pouring out of my head. And I'll never forget, I went in the penalty box, and the pride was really wounded, and I was like, fuck. I love O'Reilly, just fucking kick my ass, prick. And sure enough, I sat there and I said, if I fight like that, every time I get in a fight, I won't last long in this league. I said, I have to change my ways. I have to be smart about how I'm fighting. I can't go to toe every night with these guys that are fucking so much bigger than me. So I swore to myself I wouldn't let that happen again, and it never did, really. And I would always, I'd get in tight on the bigger guys, and most of them were bigger.
Sure.
And I would try and tie up their strength, whether a lefty or a righty, and then pick my way through the fight. And I started throwing uppercuts. I started switching hands, doing some different things. And, I won my share of fights. I, tied my share of fights, and I lost my share of fights. But the times I lost, I didn't look like I lost too bad. And that's the key. When you have teammates that look at you like, man, you win a fight, they're all like, yeah. You lose a fight, they're still like, but they're like, holy shit, he got his ass kicked. We're in trouble.
But that's just going to happen, though, right? That's just going to happen.
It can affect the team in a negative way. So I always try to make sure I hung in there and just did the best I could every fight.
Chris, you were known as a good second half fighter. Was that something you planned or just worked out that way?
It's funny you say that because John Davidson said it one night, and someone pointed it out to me, and John knew. I think we were playing Pittsburgh. Maybe it was Troy Loney I was fighting. And John Davidson said it. Watch out here. You think this fight is over. It's not. Chris Nilan's a good second half fighter. I've always had good Max VO2. Right up there, second on the team in Boston, behind Ray Bork. And Montreal was right up there, top 3. And, it's funny. The story with that is funny you say that. And I was a good second half fighter because I could go long, I'm a stallion. No. I could go long. And I think back to we were in Boston and we had them beginning of the season. We had those tests they do on everybody. How many push-ups, how many sit-ups, strength test, max VO2 test. So we get the results back, and Wes Waltz came in. He was 18 years old, just drafted. And we get the results of going around the room, and, Mike Boyle says, yeah, Ray Bork, number 1, Chris Nilan, number 2, read out the numbers, and then he go through the team, and Wes Waltz was last.
Oh.
So Wes gets out. He goes, what the fuck, Mike? What are these fucking tests? I can't believe these tests. He said, what? He goes, I watched Knuckles the morning we took those tests, 34 years old. He had 3 cigarettes, 3 cups of coffee, and he comes in second. And Mike said, Wes, it's not, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's hereditary. It does have something to do with the way you keep in shape, but a lot of it is hereditary, and he got good genes. And I did, and the kid was shocked. But it was so funny because the whole room started cracking up, and it was true. 3 cups of coffee. I don't know about the 3 cigarettes, but I had 3 cups of coffee.
Were you smoking cigarettes at the time? You a cigarette smoker?
I smoked one. Yeah, I'm not proud of it, but I did it. I vape now. I quit the smoking with the vape, but yeah, I smoke between periods with ghee, and it's nerve wracking sometimes. And I'm not. Oh yeah. Having to go out and fight a guy that's fucking 6'3", 6'4",
Now, a lot of times, a lot of the fighters talk about like the night before, right? Like, you're going into Boston.
Never.
You realize? Not. Wow.
Never. I slept like a baby the night before, and I slept like a baby the afternoon of the game.
Wow.
The only thing is, once I woke up in the afternoon, I had to go right to the rink. I couldn't hang around the house. I couldn't do anything. Wow. So I used to go at home. I'd be at the Forum. I go down. I get there about, 8 o'clock game back in the day. I'd be there about 4:30, and LaFleur would already be there. He'd get there at 3 o'clock. Right. He was there all day, LaFleur. And that's where it started. We'd talk before the game, and he'd be taping his sticks, eating potato chips, and having a hot dog.
Oh, is that right before the games?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Not every game, but there would. Yeah. Oh. Flower was a different breed, right?
Well, it's funny. We did a show the other day, and somebody was talking about the drinking, and I said, "Well, would you have played better, Tom, if you didn't drink back in the day?" And I said, "Well, I don't think so. That's like everybody. That was the culture back then, right?" Right?
Yeah, it was a culture. I often think, "Oh, could I have been?" But listen, I don't believe there was a couple nights, night before the game where you might have had a little, but very rarely. I always respected that part of it. I'd always have a couple beers with dinner the night before a game.
Sure.
I wouldn't drink heavily, but I drank. When you look at my all the 13 years I played, there wasn't many nights I didn't have alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, and I honestly, I used it as a tool to self-medicate, especially during some of those nights where I had a rough night and I was having a tough time, whether it was mentally, physically, and emotionally after fighting. It takes a toll on you, and you can never show it. You can't. So, to be able to numb yourself and self-medicate, the alcohol worked for me until it didn't.
Yeah. And again, that was part of the culture, right? Everybody did it. See, not that it makes it right. It doesn't make it right that we did it, but that was, if you,
that was the culture.
It was almost that if you didn't go out and have beers with the boys, you weren't much of a team player, right? It's like,
you were an odd duck. Yeah. We had one guy on our team who didn't drink, Ryan Walter. Yeah. God bless him. He's a wonderful guy. He's a born again Christian. He's a Christian athlete. And he would show up every day. We had to go across the street to the Cabinier, the tavern in Montreal, and have lunch. And we'd sit there and drink. And Wally would have his tomato juice, and he'd shoot the bread. He was a team guy. He was, he'd be there, but he just didn't drink. And
I played with Robbie Fatorik, and he was like that too. He wouldn't drink. He was always there at the team. He was a team guy, and that was the key, right? If you weren't going to drink, you still hang out with the guys. Yeah. So how many years did you spend in the minors?
I only spent 49 games.
Oh, okay.
I was down there, and I think one of the reasons I got called up, obviously the fighting. I had 304 minutes in penalties.
In 49 games?
Yeah. I was fighting every night, Tom. Wow. And then I had 15 goals and 10 assists. I had 25 points in 49. Wow. So I had a point every 2 games for a slug, right? A guy that fights, that's not bad numbers. So I got called up, and I was I had a lot of help. Certainly when I got to Montreal, I had a lot of help in improving my game and being able to play at that level consistently.
Right. So one of the guys I admire the most, and I got to play with him at the end of my career, is Larry Robinson.
Big bird,
when you walk in the room there and Larry Robinson, Guy Lafleur's there, but those guys seem to think like it's a Montreal form. It's Larry Robinson, it's Guy Lafleur, Bob Gainey, all those guys. Wow, that's got to be a little intimidating, or how'd you take it?
Oh, first of all, I hated all of them, because I was a big Bruins fan growing up. I hated them. I was drafted in 78, and, I was still pulling for the Bruins 79-80 when the Habs won their 4th in a row. I wanted the Bruins to beat them, and they didn't. I came in 78-79, that year. And I came in 79. And, it was intimidating, but it was funny. Yeah. Funny to be around all those guys. I was nervous as all hell, but, once we played hockey back in the day, you just scrimmage, right, in training camp.
Right.
And, I just did the best I could. And, I hit a few guys. I didn't fight anybody. I think, and then I got my picture taken with the Canadiens jersey on.
Right.
And I'm like, shit, do I have a chance here? What the hell? Why are they taking a picture? Because if I'm going in, I'm not staying here in Montreal. I'm surely going to Halifax, which I did. But it was a good sign because some guys didn't get their picture taken.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
And some guys did. So it's like, okay, you're going to be in the book they put out every year. And sure enough, it just sparked a few things in my head, thinking, shit, do I really have a chance? And then when I got to Nova Scotia, there was quite a learning curve, but I picked up on it pretty quick with some help.
So a lot of brawls, but one of the biggest brawls I ever watched was the pregame brawl with the Flyers.
Yeah.
How was that? You get tied up with Dave Brown there.
Yeah, we must have fought for 15 minutes, off and on, taking a rest, fighting again.
And he didn't have he has his jersey off too, right?
Yeah. And, it's funny. I told somebody afterwards, I wish I thought of that. And we did a thing called Fight Night in Philly a couple of years ago, went down, and they kind of relive all those big moments. O'Reilly was there talking about him and Schultz fighting, and me and Brownie. And I said to Dave, on stage, all these people were out there. And I said, geez, I wish people call you a big dummy. You're not too dumb. I said, you come out with no jersey on. He said, believe me, I didn't think of that. He said, I just always take my jersey off, and I wanted to get out there real quick. So I just come out with no jersey. And I said, yeah.
And he went right for you too, right? He was going after you.
Well, kind of things. We drifted around. I was with Big Shell Samuelson at first, and I didn't want to fight him. He's not a fighter. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna look like a dork fighting him. And I said, I know if I don't find Brown, someone else is gonna end up with Brown, and I didn't want that. So, things kind of moved around a little bit, and then we came together. Chelios was trying to keep him away from me because he knew Brownie. They played together, I think, in Moose Jaw or somewhere. And Shelly always, I got a picture here in my room up here, up the top there, going out O'Reilly.
Okay.
If you can see it.
Yeah,
see
sure.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. Shelly trying to get in the middle and stop the fight. He always, what a teammate he was.
Yeah,
but
he was a good team player, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. But crazy,
So how many years did you have in Montreal?
I played just about 10. I went to New York there, and then ended up in Boston for a year and a half, and I got picked up off of waivers the last half of my season in '92, and I kind of came back for the curtain call. But,
Tom, we should go back, though. We shouldn't gloss over the '86 season. Chris was a huge part of the cup.
Yeah, beat us. Yeah. You have to rub that in.
Let's talk about the semifinal series.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, God. Listen, we had an easy time. I don't want to say easy time, but really when I look at it, the time against the Bruins, that was, when you play best of 5. We beat them 3 straight. Boom, done. Right. Then we played Hartford. Man, I'm telling you, they had, right? You look at the team they had back then, right? Hartford had a great team. Ron Francis, right. Deneen, Samuelson, Liu. They had an awesome hockey team. Babbitt. Yeah. And we ended up going to Game 7 against them. Babbitt scored with less than a minute left to tie the game at the Forum. And I'll never forget the feeling. Like the whole bench kind of sunk. Right. We went back in the room, and Bob Gainey kind of brought everybody back front and center, and Larry. And then Claude Lemieux scored, and off we went. And then we end up playing the Rangers. And I'll never forget Pierre LaRouche trying to suck up to me at the opening faceoff.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, fuck off, Pierre.
Oh, that's funny.
No friends out here, buddy. Sorry.
And did you know him before?
Oh, yeah. Well, I played with him in Montreal, right?
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yep.
And what a pair of hands! I'm telling you, right? You play with, like he had a pair of hands, just thick, and he wanted to be buddy, and I'm like, this. Fuck, I've never. Well, we were conference final the year before against the Islanders. We got up 2-0. They spanked us 4 straight, and I'm thinking, no, we gotta get through this team, the Rangers, and Patrick stood in his head. Remember the overtime game?
He was good.
You guys had 60 shots, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, he was good.
And he stood in his head. Yeah. But we had a good, solid team defensively. We had a good blend of veterans and rookies, and Patrick and Claude Lemieux being probably the 2 biggest. Right? They were 1-2 in the Conn Smythe that year, and we went on to Calgary and ended up beating them 4-1. So, but it's the toughest thing I ever did in hockey. I'll tell you that.
What's that?
Winning
that? Oh yeah, right.
Going to the end, it's like people don't realize how much it takes audio. I think I went in at 203. I was like 192.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
I was all sucked up, black eye, limping. I tore ligaments in my ankle.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like the second last game.
Wow.
Yeah,
Chris, how insane was Montreal when you guys won?
Yeah, nuts. I mean, you can see the crowd up here behind me. That was there was 7 miles of that from City Hall. Not 7, sorry, probably about 7 kilometers from City Hall to the old Forum, down St. Catherine Street, and we were all in convertibles, and there were people from storefront to storefront. It was just jammed. The car had to part the people, and it was insanity. Over 1 million people, like just an awesome day. I remember my mom and dad, they had a bus for wives and parents and stuff like that. They had one of them trolley buses, and they were all on there drinking.
It's all right.
Just remember how fun my mom and dad had.
Right.
All the driving in the rink, all the everything, and to see them enjoy it like they did, it was just.
That's great.
For me, that was. I mean, believe me, I had a fun day too. But to see my parents enjoy it like they did, that's priceless.
Have you ever dreamed of being a pro hockey player, skating on the same professional ice as your hockey heroes? Hockey XP gives you that chance. Join us and live your pro hockey dream for one night. A Hockey XP event gives you the full professional experience. A ticket to an NHL game, a chance to network with other hockey enthusiasts, meet new teammates, and make new connections. An event-themed jersey and a swag bag full of sponsored gifts. You'll dress in pro locker rooms and sit on pro benches. And you'll play a full game on professional ice with professional referees. Join us Tuesday, March 28th at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, or Thursday, April 6th at the UBS Arena on Long Island for a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Spots are selling out fast. Go to hockeyxp.com to register.
Now, were you married during your career?
Yep.
Kids and everything? Kids while you were playing?
I had 3 kids. I had 2 of them here in Montreal, and 1 was born in New York. Colleen and Christopher were born here, and Tara was born down in Portchester United Hospital.
Oh, that's right. That's gone now. But
not there anymore, right? Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah. So how'd your career finally end then?
Well, my last year in Boston, I was there, and things weren't going good with Bonus was the coach, and things weren't going good. I was struggling with, that dreaded half step. I was still fighting. I was still doing my job that way, but I was getting tougher. I once you get toys in the attic, and you start thinking too much, you're done. Right. And I was thinking too much.
Thinking when you were fighting?
No, just on the bench. I go out for a shift and I come back and I'd be like, fuck, I used to be able to get to that part.
Right.
Quick, not the fighting so much. It was getting tougher because, come on, 20-year-old kids are coming in now. 19-year-old kids. Yeah. I remember Boston, 2 games we played. We played Chicago first, then Hartford. Rookie comes in. The Grim Reaper, Stu Grimson.
Oh, wow. Yes.
I fight Stu.
Oh, did you? Oh, wow.
And then the next night, Jim McKenzie.
Oh, he's good too. He was a tough kid.
And listen, I fought them. I did okay. I hung in there. But I would get in the penalty box. I'm going, fuck.
Yeah.
Just getting tougher.
Yeah, no kidding. You got to be saying to yourself, what am I doing?
Yeah. So when you get those toys in the attic like I was having. I struggled with it a little. I said, I'm losing it here a little bit. This is getting tough. And you don't want to admit it, but
sure.
And you can't to your teammates.
Yeah.
And they're not stupid. They can see what's going on. But I tried my best, but I was losing my fastball, and I ended up going back to Montreal. I was put on waivers. Serge picked me up. Who traded me. He was my teammate too, and a guy I absolutely love and is a good friend today. Picked me back up and let me have my curtain call. And,
okay. Cool.
I wanted to play one more year, but it wasn't to be. And I said, I'm not going to go chase it. And I'll be happy. And I just walked away at that point.
So what'd you start doing for work when you retired?
Nothing right away. Kind of took a year, bounced around. Then I ended up working with John Hancock Life Insurance Company. I was in community relations and Olympic projects. They were Olympic sponsor. So, I did that for a few years. Then got into the insurance business, which I hated. I left shortly afterwards. And then a couple of startups, different things, and one company called Visit, Visit.com. And you know what Visit was?
No.
Visit was just like Cameo.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
And the technology wasn't there yet. We had the tech was now we got Cameo, Zoom. What was the other thing? Skype. Skype was, and I was enlisting people, trying to get them to say they'd be on the website and saying, we'll pay you so much an hour. But, the way Cameo did it, it was pretty cool. You name your own price, blah, blah, blah. And if people want to talk to you, they do. But, the technology was so much more advanced at this point. Yeah. And when I think back, we were early, and the concept was there, but we were early. And so we did that, and then it stopped. And, I had a few surgeries, and, the pain, and arthritis, and, my knees, my hand, a lot of stuff. And, I ended up getting addicted to pain medication.
So you got on the pain medication. That's when it all started then? You've been very open, and I've been on shows with you before talking about your substance abuse. So that's how it started? So you were drinking beers like every other hockey player was, but right.
Yeah, I was drinking quite a bit. And, I was drinking like I was still playing, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Which isn't normal. And then, one surgery, another surgery. I got going on the pills quickly. Became addicted to Percocet, and taking way too many.
Now, did you know you were taking? Did you know you were taking too many at the time? You were just taking.
Oh yeah, I knew. Not at the very beginning. I didn't. I just knew. I take two, and I felt good. Feel better. That's great. And then I would take two. 4 days later, and it wasn't doing the same. Wasn't having the same effect on me. Right. So then I end up taking 4. And okay, that's more like it. And then it's 6, then it's 8, then it's 10, then it's out of hand. And then Oxycontin came in, the wonder drug, and I got addicted to that, and took it to a whole other level. And it wasn't good.
You're still married at the time with kids?
Yeah.
Are they aware of what's going on?
Just crazy life, living crazy.
Right.
I was out of hand. I ended up going in 2000 treatment. I went to treatment the first time, and I got out, and I stayed sober about 2.5 years, and started drinking again. Then back to the pills, and I went to treatment again in 2009, and then I relapsed again. I ended up on the pills and then on heroin. It wasn't good.
And what's happening with your personal life at this time? Your wife, kids, job?
Yeah, I ended up divorced in 2005. I started drinking again. Things get out of control. And, my divorce certainly had nothing to do with my ex-wife, who was nothing but a saint. She just couldn't deal with it anymore. She tried to help me and she gave me the opportunity to keep the marriage together. I couldn't, I was so addicted and so lost that, it wasn't happening. We ended up divorced, which, we talk about. People say, "Oh, you got any regrets in life?" That's my biggest regret, honestly. That I failed at my marriage, and I failed that woman, and I hurt her in ways that I never wanted to hurt anybody. And I did.
Does she know that you feel that way now?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we're friends, and I've made amends, and we've stayed in touch, certainly for our children, and So
now, were you able during all this to stay in your kids' lives too?
Oh yeah. I've done a lot of work, personal work on myself.
Sure. Yeah.
In recovery, and one of those things is certainly making amends to people you've wronged and hurt along the way. And saying sorry is one thing, But that ring, it rings hollow after you say sorry too many fucking times.
Sure.
So to really make amends and have a living amends, and showing people that, yes, I have changed. Yes, I don't drink and do drugs anymore. The drinking and drugs is really a symptom of the real problem.
Right.
And you got to be willing to take a good look at yourself and be honest with yourself.
So what is the real problem then?
For me, listen, there was a combination of things. The way I grew up, my environment, things I learned in my environment,
sure.
Some of the trauma, if you will, as a young boy, things that I won't get into, but violence,
right.
and thinking that it never affected me.
Right.
Well, it did.
Yeah. Right. That's what I've learned too. Like the drinking and drugs and everything, very often the addiction comes from trauma when you're a young kid, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you look at anybody who suffers from alcoholism, drug addiction, it's usually somebody who has suffered a trauma in life. And one person's trauma might not be the same as another one's, and you could look at it and say, "Oh, that's not that bad," until you fucking live it, and living it and not being able to understand it.
Sure.
Can be.
And of course, you're having a successful life too. You're playing in the National Hockey League, so you think to yourself, "There's nothing wrong, right?" I mean, everybody's drinking beer. I'm drinking beer.
Well, yeah. Well, it rears its ugly head in different ways, right? And certainly a lot of the things that I had to deal with, and correct, served me well.
Sure.
In my career, they served me well. They were actually really great assets to have, but.
Sure.
There comes a point where you can no longer continue that behavior, and you're lost,
right?
And you don't know what to do with it then, and it comes out in ugly ways. So to address those things and make the changes that you need to make to live a healthy, good life, and totally. Be honest, be open, and actually have your hand out to help other people in life. Is a good way to live life for me.
Yeah, definitely is. How bad did it finally get then with the drugs?
I overdosed it, and was brought back. I woke up in an emergency room in Boston, and that was the last time I ever did a drink or a drug.
Right.
And
so you were in and out of rehab a couple of times before that. That's finally got to be the worst. And then you said to yourself, okay, that's it. I've got to.
Yeah. And I decided to get really serious. I knew what to do,
right,
but I wasn't doing it when I fell back into the addiction. And it's something I have to deal with on a daily basis. And I do.
Yeah.
I take it seriously now. I don't think I have this thing licked because it's right up there on my shoulder, waiting to dig the claws in again. And I have to, my sobriety is based on my spiritual condition and how good my spiritual condition is. Really helps me to stay sober on a daily basis.
Now, were you able to kind of, I guess, I don't know how I'd say it the right way, kind of resolve the initial, what the problem was, the violence when you were younger?
Oh, yeah. So I made sense of all that. I've addressed it in a healthy way, in a healthy environment, and was able to get through it. You don't get over shit.
Yeah.
You don't just tuck it away and forget about it. You got to get through it. And with therapy, with a healthcare professional who certainly is well versed in trauma, it was it's liberating in a lot of ways. And I always butted heads with my dad, with whatever reasons. And I never understood. I always looked at him, my big hero, my dad. I never looked at him as a little boy
Right.
and what he went through in his life.
Right.
And I know he had a tough time growing up. He had 3 sisters. You know, he took care of his mother, young age. His dad was an alcoholic who certainly wasn't around for him a lot, and he had to take care of his mother and 3 sisters at a young age. Kids, you grow up, you're supposed to get direction and live a good life and have fun, get out and do stuff with your friends and go to school and all those things. My father, he had to get to work right away as a young kid. And it helped me understand and him a whole lot more than I ever could.
Sure. Was he aware of all this?
Yeah, we've talked. And
so your father's still alive?
No, he passed away November 30th, a year ago, just over a year ago. Okay. Yeah. I talked to him on Zoom the morning he passed. He was watching the Canadiens game that night against, I forget who they were playing, but we were texting back and forth. My mother, he was taking care of my mom who has dementia. And he's been taken care of for about 9 years. And, it wore him out. It just wore him out. And couldn't take it any longer.
Wow. And your mother, she's still alive then, or she's passed?
Yep, she is. She's fit as a fiddle, healthy as a horse.
Oh, okay.
But mentally, the dementia stuff, it's a terrible disease.
It's hard around everybody. It's hard around the family members, really. My father had it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Terrible to go through.
Yeah. How's your relationship with your kids?
Great. I get along great. My kids, my daughter Colleen's a nurse. There's a couple grandkids with her, Nolan and Chloe. And then my son Christopher has 3 kids. Wow. And awesome. I got 5 grandkids. And then my youngest daughter, Tara, she's doing well. So Chris, electrician, he's in the union, laborers union. And so life is good. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you love yourself now?
Do I love myself?
Yeah.
I've always loved myself.
Oh, okay. All right.
I've always loved myself, but I didn't know it at times. Sure. And I've certainly the addiction piece. When I was at my low point, I lost that love for myself for sure. No question. If you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. You don't have a shit.
I had this conversation.
Yeah, if you can't get honest with yourself,
totally.
You can't be honest with anybody else either.
I had this conversation before with another guy I played with, Jim Thompson, and he's gone through the addiction and everything as well himself. Yeah. And we talked about how, listen, it's fantastic playing in the National Hockey League. It was great, but in some ways it kind of sets you back in life, right? Because we're living that kind of phony world. And we don't ever have to face things like that where we learn to love ourselves, right? And people telling us out. Yeah. So it's great. I wouldn't change a thing, but.
Yeah, no, listen. You play that, you have that career, and it's like you're a kid. You're a kid. You're playing a kid. You're a man playing a kid's game. And listen, I loved every minute of it. I had a blast. I loved playing the NHL. But when it's taken away, you're not prepared. I don't care. You can have all the money in the world. But if you're not prepared for that time in your life, that next chapter, you will. It's very hard to find anything that is as fulfilling as doing what you did as an athlete, as a professional hockey player. At least I know in my case, I can only speak for myself, but I've seen countless others and heard countless others say the same thing. It's very difficult to find anything that's as fulfilling.
Right. Well, and you grew up being treated a certain way too, right? Everybody's telling you how great you are and do this favor for you and help you out, and all this free dinners. Then all of a sudden the game's over with and you're just a regular guy on the street now. I mean,
again, I'll never forget the night I come out after a game at the Forum, and you grew up. I mean, you grew up in a farm, right? Grandfather and your father, taught you that, the value of hard work and getting up and going every day. Well, my dad taught me those things, and I remember I come out of the locker room and into the garage, and a bunch of fans there and stuff, and everybody asked him for autograph and pictures. And then my dad stood there and watched me. I could see him out of the corner of my eye. And afterwards, we're going out to get in the car, and he said to me, "Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, you keep your fucking feet on the ground.
Oh,
Don't you ever fucking big cheese anybody. Don't you fucking big cheese anybody.
Oh.
And he was always that way. He even told me, like, as a kid at school. And I tell you, a lot of what he taught me shaped me. You know, at school, he used to tell me, Crit, I don't ever want that principal calling me, telling me you're fucking picking on some kid. You're
right.
fucking, you know, the fat kid, the kid with glasses.
Right.
What?
Right.
I better never get that fucking phone call, or I'll kick your ass all around this neighborhood. And you know, he really meant that, and it showed in the way he did things in his life. But he told me, if that principal calls me and you end up getting in a fight because you stuck up for a kid, I don't have a problem with that. But if you go around starting shit and big cheese, that ain't gonna work. And you know, he taught me some good things. Like, I'll never forget, I wanted to quit hockey freshman year in high school. My coach, John Bad Eyes Glynn. Bad Eyes. It's funny, his brother Kevin used to say, my brother, he had a fucking NHLer on his team, freshman, and he fucking sat him on the bench all year. No wonder why they call him Bad Eyes.
Bad Eyes.
I'm not going to tell you I was a great hockey player and deserved to play every shift, but I didn't deserve to fucking sit in the bench all game.
Right.
And I remember the game I was going to quit, and I come out, I was dejected. My father actually bumped Bad Eyes, hit him with his shoulder, and said, "Hey, how come my fucking kid can't play? He's sitting in the fucking bench all game." And, you know, I shit myself. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm done now. If I ain't playing now, I won't even fucking dress now. But I remember I went up and got in the car. And he said, "You okay?" I said, "No, I'm thinking of quitting. Fucking hockey sucks. I have fucking sit in the bench, watch everybody else play." And he said, "Well, listen, you can quit if you want. You can go right ahead and quit. But he said, I'm going to tell you one thing. You quit, it'll fucking haunt you for the rest of your life. Yeah. You won't only remember it, but it will haunt you." And I was like, holy shit, really? It'll haunt me? And sure enough, he said, you can do that, or you can start doing things to get yourself to become a better player. Yeah. And, you know, I skated, I worked out, I rollerbladed, I shot pucks off the schoolyard wall every day. And I just kept getting at it. I didn't make varsity at Catholic Memorial until I was a junior.
Wow.
Some kids play as a freshman, some play as a sophomore. I didn't make it till I was a junior. And, you know, I played both those years, and, you know, a late bloomer, I guess.
Good job. Good job. Those are great stories, right? The influence your parents have on you, the difference they make in your life. I mean, my parents, same thing. Like you mentioned my father, grandfather. Yeah, and you don't really notice it at the time. It's later on in life that you look back and say, like, geez, thank God they were there, or else I wouldn't have made it, right?
Yeah. You know, I wanted to bring up, and you know, talking about guys and some of the issues in hockey, but your former teammate, Mark Pavlich.
Yeah.
Right? Because he was a teammate, right?
Yes, he was. Yep.
And here's a guy who had some demons, right? And here's a guy that slipped through the cracks, and it's a shame. I know Barry Beck is outspoken about this, and you know, I don't know how. I guess I do, but it's like, how do we let a guy like Mark Pavlich slip through the cracks? Yeah. And he wanted to be a recluse, he wanted to be off on it, but still, he needed some help, and he needed guys to band together. And we always talk about the hockey community sticking together. Now, Pat LaFontaine is a big part of the behavioral health program now. He okays guys if you're a former player and you're having issues, you know, you can go through the alumni and they put you in touch. But he usually okays the funds to get people help. And, you know, it's just a shame.
Well, part of the issue, and you know this too, part of the issue is the mental health issues come in. These guys are adults. Unless they reach out for ask for help, you can't really go to and force them to get help. There's a couple of other guys you probably know living on the streets. There's probably many guys living on the streets.
Well, it's like Joe Murphy. They tried with him, and he just, you know, and it's sad. It's sad, but you know, and you talk about trauma, and you see those guys and where they are. And listen, it's hard to transition from hockey into the real world, right?
Yeah.
It is. Or pro sports, anybody. But, you know, when you look back and you think of those guys and what was it? What was that trauma in their lives that they could never address or get the help to address? And yes, you have to want to do it. And what happened to me, I had to hit rock bottom.
Sure.
And say, listen, I need help. And I was down and out, and I was miserable. I was a shell of my former self, and I was desperate. I had the gift of desperation. Yeah. And I thank God today that, and again, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a holy roller. You know, I'm a born again Christian. I'm not a born again Christian. I'm certainly living a spiritual good life. Sure. Right. I try to, you know, match my actions with love and you know, being there for other people and being a good person today. And, you know, I spent enough time worrying about myself and my addiction. Sure. That, you know, I just want to live that good life now. And
you are, brother. You are.
Help anybody else. And I love being able to help people who struggle with addiction, and I have, and I will continue to do that. I can't keep what I have unless I give it away. So it's definitely, it's pretty cool to be living that good life now.
Yes, it is, definitely. And what are you doing for work now then? What's going on?
I'm doing the podcast. I'm doing some speaking things.
What's the podcast called?
Raw Knuckles Podcast. You got to check it out, Tom. The Raw Knuckles Podcast. I had Jeff Molson on yesterday. He'll be coming out today. Pierre Gervais, former equipment manager for the Montreal Canadiens, come out and he had it. He said a lot of stuff that went on in the room. Talked about PK Subban. Talked about Max Pacioretty, saying nobody liked him. Oh, really? Not a good guy. Oh, yeah, the trainer. Oh. So a lot of people say he crossed the line, right? What happens in the room stays in the room. Anyway, we had Pierre on. That comes out at noon, actually.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah, we had a lot of some the current players and stuff on, and some retired guys I play with, Chelios. Big Larry's going to be coming on with me. So
excellent. Larry Robinson. Wow.
And then I was I was named an ambassador of the Montreal Canadiens with Patrice Brisebois, Vincent Donfus, and Guy Carbonneau.
Wow.
So excellent. I am the first English guy to ever be an ambassador for the Montreal Canadiens.
Very cool.
And certainly the first American. But the beauty of that is when I look and I think of the guys who came before me, Rocket Richard, Jean Beliveau, Guy Lafleur, Yvan Conway, all ambassadors of the Montreal Canadiens.
That's an honor.
Henry Richard. Yeah, so for a kid from Boston, up here in Montreal, and for them to, you know, put me into that category. And again, I'm no Hall of Fame and I'm no superstar, but boy, to be able to be in that group of ambassadors of the Montreal Canadiens, it's like I got to pinch myself. And
very cool.
I do some stuff on the outside here with a couple different companies. Are you on
Facebook or Instagram? You got a website or anything?
I'm on Facebook. Chris Nilan, my family page, and Knuckles. Then I'm Instagram, Knuckles Nilan.
Good.
And then Twitter. Yeah.
Knuckles. Twitter boy. Look at you. Look at you. Modern technology.
A Raw Knuckles. I got to tell you, when I was doing my radio show here, I had a radio show here for 10 years. Yeah. Okay. I got fired last February. Because I did not want to get vaccinated for health reasons. Wow. They denied me and they fired me. Wow. And that's why I started the podcast. But so I had a full-time regular job.
Yeah, you will. This podcast will take on.
So now I'm just kind of finding my way again at the tender age of 64, Tom.
64, that's a great year. That's what I am too, 64. Ron Grescher's birthday today. I don't know if he's like 67.
Is it today?
Yeah. I think it's 67 or 68. I can't remember.
I'm in February 9th. I am. So
Right.
when were you?
April 15th.
April. So you'll be 65.
65 coming up. That's right. Yeah. So listen,
Both of us.
I know. Listen, we didn't know each other until we did that Zoom thing together, and I'm really glad we got to know each other. I'm really impressed by you. You should be very proud of yourself, what you've done in your life, battling all the addiction and the career you had. I just, and again, I after talking about the story, I wish we had played together. Now that's the only problem. I get to know you.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. You really are an inspiration to people. Keep going. You're a fantastic man. All right, brother.
Thanks, Chris.
I really appreciate it, man. I wish you luck with your show. And if you ever want to do it again, I'm always available.
Yeah, we will. All right, brother. Good seeing you.
All right. Be well.
Hey, Tom. So we should talk to our listeners about Celly Salt.
It's one of the reasons I'm such a great cook, because Celly Salt, that's right.
Celly Salt comes in 3 flavors, created by 2 hockey moms.
Yep.
I personally tried this salt, garlic and pepper mix, and oh my God, on a bagel with avocado, it was amazing.
So it's Pam Auger and then Lou Cannon. I like to call it a loose cannon. So they develop their own salts. They make it out of their own garage. They package themselves. So they're good, and they're real go-getters too. They're fun people to be around. Yeah.
They have 3 products. They have Celly Salt. They have the Puckin hot spicy salt, and then they have the Chirpin herb. It's a great product. Our listeners, if anyone wants to purchase it on their website, cellysalt.com, they can use code FULLCHANGE. You get 10% off. And I loved it. I tried it, like I said, for the first time. It was amazing. I know you use it all the time. And
it's lower sodium too, because you use regular salt, it's just salt. So in their mixture, there's salt, pepper, and then whatever else. They put garlic in it, or else paprika.
Wow. Cellysalt.com. Use the coupon code FULLCHANGE.
Paprika.
There you go. Wow, Knuckles Nilan. Yeah. Guy's a legend. I mean, he is so Boston, and he's a hero in Montreal. It's crazy.
Yeah, you can ask me. You laughed at me when I asked him where he was from. Boston, of course. Yeah.
How can you not tell? I know. He's parking a car. You know.
Yeah.
What a story. And I didn't realize he had these struggles recently.
Yeah, great guy. Like we talked during the show, we never played with each other, but we really got to know each other here lately. And he's a really impressive guy. Again, you don't know the person when you're playing against him, but hear his life story and how he's fought through the addiction and everything. Great father, really good man.
Yeah, it's true, because it was a great lesson his dad taught him to stick up for don't pick on the other kids. Yeah. Stick up for your friends, but your teammates. And he did that his whole career, obviously, everywhere he went.
Yeah, and it's interesting with his father, like how he respects him still, but how hard his father was on. But he made him a better person, better player by being so hard on him.
Yeah, and he said he resolved any issues he had. So it's a great story. He's doing great work in Montreal. He was just out with giving Christmas presents to kids in Montreal. So he's definitely carved out a nice life for himself.
Yeah, that was a very inspirational show. That was great.
Absolutely.
All right, Grasshoppers, thank you for listening. We had a fantastic show. We'll see you next time.
Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, FDA approved for over 20 years. So, talk to your specialist to see if Botox Cosmetic is right for you.
For full prescribing information, including boxed warning, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
Remember to ask for Botox Cosmetic by name. To see for yourself and learn more, visit BotoxCosmetic.com. That's BotoxCosmetic.com.